I still don't have a preview, by the way, but hi.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't get a chance to adjust the cameras, so like the top of your head's cut off.
My head! Oh, I just like, I'm all, here, let me slouch a little.
There we go.
Looking good.
Laid back.
Laid back.
Well, welcome to the MARZ stream. Sorry for a little bit of a late start. We were just like messing with some stuff, of course, as usual, trying to get things to work better, but
I'm gonna go adjust this camera.
still, oh yeah. I think you were all like leaned over your laptop when I was setting the frame, and then too bad I don't have a PTZ where I can just like get the little joystick out and.
You down with PTZ?
PTZ, pan, tilt, zoom. Yeah, you just adjusted it.
You guys like my band shirt?
Oh, is that new?
Kinda.
Those are sweet.
Yeah, I really like the pink on black. Get them while they're hot.
Who do you have do your graphic design?
I actually do not know the name of the artist who did this one. I should. That's now I feel bad that I don't know.
It's cool though. Props to the designer. I like that.
Yeah. I tell everyone how much I like pink on black, and they acquiesce to me.
Sweet. So yeah, I think today we're gonna jump into more Blender. Speaking of jumping, we're gonna be talking about physics.
Camera physics?
I mean,
it's hard to do from this angle.
Physics
I'm sorry.
on a camera too. That might actually be interesting.
Soft body physics on the camera.
I don't know about like. I don't know what would happen. If, like,
right? Yeah, the camera's perspective starts just melting. I didn't do a very good job of this. Yeah. What is going on with this thing right now? All right, well,
zoom out and I can adjust you.
Yeah.
I can just manually zoom in on the.
So we're just gonna do something like that.
Yeah,
Oh!
you may just need to zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
Could be that too. There you go. That might help. I can always like.
Like I keep thinking it's gonna be better.
Yeah, you definitely gotta lean it up a little bit. But that'll work. There you go. There. Hold on. I can adjust it.
You got enough room over there?
I can bring you down a little bit.
Bring me down. I need to be brought down a
It's
bit.
still kind of like.
It's pretty clipped out right now.
Go right there. That's better. Maybe. Does it sound better in here, like from your point of view? Turn
me up a little bit. Is this fun to listen to, you guys? You guys love this right now? This like great content.
We should just like chat the whole time. We haven't done one of those streams in a long time.
I think we might be doing one right now.
We're 7 minutes in, but we did miss the first few minutes. Hey, that's better. Cool. It's like.
It's very pale right now.
Yeah, I still don't like the lighting.
It's okay. Here, I'll go mess with it. You talk about stuff. I'm going to go mess with my lighting here.
Well, we'll switch over here. I'll get us on to the... Where's my screen capture?
I want to do some Blender stuff today. So we're doing Blender stuff today. That's what's happening. Yes. I had so much fun dorking out. That little glass text thing that we made went super great on stage. It looked awesome. I was very pleased with myself. I've gotten some great feedback about it. Had someone try to hire me to do it for them, which is a good sign when you're an amateur and people are trying to throw money at you. I couldn't, in good conscience, take that gig.
Whoops. Because
I would have just had to ask Jay. But that's cool. So anyways, I'm hoping that today, if everything goes as planned, I wanted to learn a little bit about physics in Blender.
Yeah.
Since I like my whole thing in that like glass text thing was like kind of like I'm like interested in like virtual materials, right? Like like that was a physics thing too in its own way, right? I'm playing with like physics of light and refracting light through objects, right? But there's a bunch of other different kinds of physics that you can get into in here that are really interesting, and I've seen some really like just stuff that ranges from like weird, crude, like experimental simulations to like beautiful art that uses the physics to great effect. And I don't know anything about it, so I'm hoping Jay can tell me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with the basics. I honestly feel like Blender's physics is one of the areas that it's actually kind of lacking. I feel like personally, I'm not like a master physicist. Physics. What's the right word for
physicist? That works. Somewhat, I guess. Probably not what people mean when they use that word usually, but
Not a master of physics, but I guess it is just physics, the mathematical idea of, things with gravity and how that all works. But we're gonna mess around with it, and it does have some features, and I bet you like in a month or something it's gonna change. But
Right.
it's been the same for a long time. But I know that there's some talk about like updating a lot of the animation stuff, and I think that includes the physics as well. But honestly, personally, if I was gonna start learning this stuff, I would learn to do it in like one, Houdini, or two, Unreal Engine, where it's like really real time. Blender, you do have to like calculate stuff, and that's always fun to sit through and like watch something calculate. But once it gets like super complex,
Right.
but we can do some basic stuff.
we saw that like with the glass stuff where I had to like render an image and wait for it to even see what a still looked like because it wouldn't display in the viewport at all.
Yeah, the real time stuff is just getting so good that like it's hard to compete. I mean, this is still going to give you like Cycles is, if you got it set up right and everything, it's going to give you the most photorealistic results. But you probably all have seen stuff coming out of Unreal Engine, and it's like, I mean, it's indistinguishable sometimes from real life when it gets like hyper realistic and they've got like just a bunch of photo scans in there. Like,
Seems a pretty trippy like real-time particle physics stuff in Blender, but I imagine those folks are just like have some sort of insane CPU GPU combos to like make that work,
and a lot of times they'll do it in Houdini and then bring it into Blender. So, because Houdini isn't really a render engine per se. I think that it has rendering capabilities, but like,
It'll like pre-calculate the particle physics and stuff.
yeah, you can do like, you can bring in stuff that's been generated, like water physics or something. You can do that. Move it over,
That's I did not know that.
yeah, so it would be cool to showcase, although I don't have access to Houdini yet. I'm hoping maybe. It is expensive.
It's one of those like institutional type things.
Yeah, which I would love to teach it eventually and like have it here in the studio. That's definitely something that is
Very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really doing career training stuff, having access to these softwares is great. I personally would need some training in it, and but it is very powerful. But we can at least like start learning some of the basics and the terminology within Blender because it does have some of those features. So. Let's just start with our cube. Let's get rid of our camera and stuff. Just delete those. And everybody loves to delete the default cube, but we're going to play with it so it gets some attention today. One of the first things I guess we can check out is in, just to show you, there's some quick effects in Blender under objects. When you have something selected, there's some physics that you can add within here. So you can add like a rigid body, which is essentially just like, if you think of something that's rigid, like, say this was a block of stone, like it's just, it's gonna fall and it's just gonna hit the ground. It's not really do anything. But you can add gravity to it with a rigid body. And the term is the same in all programs pretty much.
Rigid body versus soft body, right? Being that rigid body is not going to deform.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a few other ones, but that's the general idea. Like a soft body, on all the points so like when we look at it this way, all of these points become like movable, and you can usually set the spring value or the tension between each point, and that determines like how much it can bend and pull itself away. So of course, the more you add, the more vertices you add, or the more you subdivide it, really, you want to keep it consistent, the more like it will deform. So, but if we go in there, oops, that's not usually the best way to add things, but there are some quick effects, like with fur, which is also kind of part of the physics. You can add like physics, hair, particles, and things like that. It's very intensive on the computer, but you can do it. And there's a whole new hair system too with the geometry nodes that I have not yet experimented a whole lot with. But the old-fashioned way of doing hair does have some physics and things like that. We might actually, we'll look at the cloth physics, which is very similar to soft body physics, and add some what's called like forces later. But you can see there's a few in here. So like quick explosion, quick smoke, quick liquid, explosion. I don't. This one's just kind of like mixed pieces and has it fall apart. And you can see once you add those, you should have like a particle system. So this one's kind of fun. You can do some really neat effects. But these are all like just kind of preset ones.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
How do I reset my origin point to the center of this object again?
Oh yeah, you can just right-click it and do set origin.
Set origin. Right,
yeah.
Origin to center mass. Or...
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. You can do geometry also. I think origin to geometry also picks the center of mass. Set the center. Yeah.
Can you see my screen right now?
I can if I switch it. You can sort of see it.
See what's happening here? It's like not resetting.
It looks to me like it. Oh, you want it to be on the ground? The yellow, the orange dots.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're talking about the 3D cursor.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah. So that's the.
I thought that was the origin.
So that you can do the Shift C, and that will reset that one.
I see.
That way things spawn back. Yeah, things spawn.
That's like the spawn location. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you can also use this as like a transform location. So like you can set it up here. You can change the location at which you can pivot things. So like, of course, like right now, if I select this and spin it, it spins at the origin. But you can also use the 3D cursor to like spin around things.
Got it. Yeah. So
which can be really useful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. Misunderstanding. There's so much of the stuff is like, like there's like a UI element and it's tied to like a piece of like jargon, like that means something, right? And so it's like there's like multiple layers of interpretation between me seeing that icon on the screen to me like actually getting what it does. It
used to be really annoying because the default left click would move that around and you like would be like, what is happening? Like, what am I doing? Like moving this weird thing. And the hotkey I think the hotkey was different too. But Shift C, so like Shift Center, that's how I like to remember it. So that centers everything because it also will move your camera if you hit it. It like focuses in and resets your 3D cursor and everything. So, anyways, that's pretty useful because it spawns things there and so you can rotate and whatnot. But those quick effects can be pretty fun, though. I'm gonna show you all how to do things just.
Oh my gosh, quick fur.
Yeah, there's fur too. So that.
Whoa, that's really quick.
And for some reason, this won't let me undo, so I'm just gonna delete the cube.
Oh, that's pretty furry.
Let me see. Oh yeah, look at that. We got Corey down. This is what we were trying to fix before the stream was the NDI captures of his screen so that it actually is like not lagging on us. But NDI's like compatibility with Macs is kind of hit or miss, it seems like.
So is there a problem happening right now?
What's that?
You got a problem going on over there?
Oh no, I was just talking about trying to get NDI to work. No, you're just down in the little screen.
Oh, I see.
So it's hard to see. Like I've got you kind of cropped in.
I see.
But y'all can kind of see it in his little preview there, what he's messing with the hair.
I'm just kind of curious, like tweaking the parameters, seeing what happens.
So that one can be pretty fun. So that's another one of those quick effect options here. There you can kind of see what it looks like. If you go into render view, hair usually looks a lot better in cycles, but it has a lot to do with the material you use too. But the main thing I do want to get into is just doing some physics in general. So of course, if we go over to our physics properties, there's a whole panel for it when you have something selected. And you can see here's all the different things that we can apply to this cube. So the main ones are the soft body, collision, cloth, and the rigid body. So those four are the main ones that you'd want to use. There is the fluid simulation too, though it's a little bit more complex, and I think we're just going to mostly talk about the rigid body, soft body, cloth, and collision. So let's do rigid body first, since that's probably the most straightforward one. And of course, when I hit play on my keyboard, now that I've turned that on, the cube's just going to fall. So in order to make it not fall, of course, we want to add a floor. So you can use a plane, though when you first add it in, of course, it's not going to work. So we've got to add, and you might think that the collision is the way to go, but actually it's not. Hence why Blender physics are sometimes really confusing. You actually, for rigid bodies, making this also a rigid body and making this passive instead of active. So active will have it like actually like gravity affects it, but passive, gravity won't affect it, but it's still a collision object. So now it will fall and hit the ground. But using a flat like 2D plane isn't always the best idea for multiple reasons. So actually using another cube is a better bet.
Or like a sphere or something?
Yeah, or what, something with some volume to it, some actual like structure. I'm going to use a cube to start with. And then what I want to make sure to do though is scaling is a big thing when it comes to physics in Blender. If I were to scale this cube up and scale it like a plane like this, the calculation of the physics is done based on the defaults of the object. So since I scaled this, see if I can demonstrate how this, it's a little bit weird because it calculates things based on its original scale. So the scale here, see all these numbers are all like, not all, they should all be ones, right?
Right, yeah.
So it's going to calculate it like it's this small, like it's the original cube size, because this one's all got its scale set. So that's one big thing with physics, that if like things are being weird, just make sure that your scale is applied, or that you make your edits in edit mode instead of in object mode when you scale things or whatever. You can go up to object and just like apply your scale, and then it will reset all those settings. So just a good habit to get into to not like end up with issues with things. Mm-hmm. It's also you also got to watch your origin point with your object. So I'll show you first. So right now, since we'll set this to rigid body and make it passive so that it doesn't fall, and I play, this should just hit the ground. Yep, hits the ground. Let me turn on some. I'll make this a little easier to see. Just do some basic shadows. There we go. These are just like shadow previews. But there it falls. Let's like put it on its side so that it kind of does something more. Oops.
Yeah. That 3D cursor.
Yep. There we go. So now it's going to hit the ground and fall. And yeah, pretty simple. You can see that the timeline down here is turning yellow too. That's like the
that's how long it's going to move for?
Well, it's like cached that animation.
I see.
So that it will play back faster the next time. You can actually watch my frame rate up here. It may not actually do it with as simple of an animation, but
right, because it's not actually moving at this point. But it's but now that I see that the cache is grown.
Yeah, and it goes red when I first play it. That means it's not playing back at real time.
Yeah.
We'll add more and like make it actually lag a little bit just to show you.
Totally. That glass text was lagging something awful. I was
when
getting some horrid frame rates on that thing.
Yeah. So it will tell you. It'll be like, oh, it's dropping frame. I'll show you how to fix that too. You can like get a little bit better preview once we have some more going on here. But one thing I also wanted to show with just the basic rigid body is you can change the mass of the object you have here. So of course, higher mass is just its weight essentially, and so it's going to act a little bit different. It's going to hit the ground and fall a lot harder. You may have to like really crank up that mass to get it to be real visible. But the other thing is that origin point, like I was talking about. So if we go into edit mode and just grab this and move that origin point like down into like the bottom of this point here, this is going to act really weird. So if I play this now, watch what it tries to do. See how it's like, here, let me turn the mask down a little bit, it'll be more obvious what it's trying to do here. See how it's like, kind of, here, it may even need to be lighter. to really show. But it's almost like falling really slowly. It does not seem natural the way that it's... Maybe that I need to... Let's actually apply the rotation. There we go. So see, it's kind of trying to stay on that edge. It's because the origin point is also the center of mass of the object. So we're getting into like real, physics stuff. Have you seen those like those like punching bags that are weighted at the bottom, and you hit them and then they come back up?
Yep.
That's essentially what this is doing. So whoa, whoops. If we were to like just take this and bring out one of these ends or something. And actually, let me just flip this around. Rotate it back to its original spot. Let's apply the rotation. Oops. Oh, why did I want to do that? Clear. There we go. And go into edit mode and bring this up. So this time it will really, since the center of mass is on the bottom, even if I turn this, it's not going to, there we go. It's not going to want to fall over like you'd think it would.
Because the center of mass is low.
Just like a car. Yep, see, there it goes.
Tight.
It's going to act like it's weighted. So it's just like, it's that's another thing that can be really confusing if you're trying to make something like accurate, is that you want to watch, like, actually think about where the center of mass of the object would be. So like where's the most weight on it.
So I know there's like an activity called weight painting. Now, does that affect the physics calculations as well? If you do that kind of thing, or is that just relevant to like stretching and skewing and stuff?
The weight painting is actually, even though the name seems like it would be related, has nothing to do with physics.
Right.
It's right here, and it even has the little like weight looking thing on it. It's all to do with weighting vertices to bones. So when you're doing a character, your weight paint is the relation to the bone, and has really nothing to do with physics.
So what do you mean? So what does it mean to have weight in relation to the bone then?
It's like what part of the model is controlled by what bone. So you weight a certain area to a bone. It's sort of like
it's sort of like attaching the like skin or like the flesh to the bone.
Exactly.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Virtually,
so like our the
musculature and stuff.
Yeah, your forearm is like weight painted to your bicep kind of thing, or your forearm is to your, it's like the you can you attach that part of the model to that bone through weight painting. So when you do like the automatic weights thing, we've done that a few times with the
the Rigify thing. Yeah. So that's skipping that process.
Yeah.
Or automating that process. Right?
Yeah, the weight painting. So it really has nothing to do with physics.
Okay. It does like the way it looks like it's physics related, right? Because it starts to make the mesh like kind of move naturally. But that's just like it's like about like morphing the mesh or like skewing the mesh to the bones rather than trying to calculate anything about their actual density.
Right. So like I was saying, like the arm is like if you're weight painting your arm, the bone, would be attached to the different parts of your arm, and then it bends depending on the weights that are distributed to, so.
Right, but it's like how bendy that part is, or like how much it wants to move with the bone.
How much is attached? Like you wouldn't, you could have a character, like if it's too close to their side of the ribs or whatever, and it could pull the part of the ribs and stay attached to the arm if you weren't careful with your weight painting. So you want to like unpaint a certain part so that it only moves, that.
So okay, arm. Yeah. So I haven't actually done this process. So real quick, so like when you do this, like you select the bone and then you paint the parts of the mesh you want to. Okay, got it. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Got
so the automated version just like kind of takes an area around it, like it estimates what's close by. And
we saw in my old like duck character that like what happens when it screws up and it starts to tug his torso out with his elbow and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's
cool.
That's all weight painting.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a kind of the name can be confusing if you're like doing weights like physics stuff, but
right.
So this is all affected by center of mass. So you can't really have. I mean, you just have to. I guess there are the settings here. So you could, though it doesn't take into account, of course, like if you had just like a piece of metal attached to a stick or something.
Right.
You know, but what you might have saw when you set origin, you can set origin to center of mass of the surface or the volume. So if I do that, it's just going to go to the center. And now if I play, it's going to fall like you would think. It just falls in.
Like something made of solid thing.
Yeah.
So you could like extrude like another cube off the end of this, and that cube could be heavier than like the rod or whatever. Like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like subdivide it, and then what? Like one of the ends has more weight than the other, or like weighs more. You can literally tell it the weight, right? So you could like have like the one end be 1 kilogram and the other end be 10. Right?
So it's like you can't, at least as far as I know, you can't like set areas to be certain weights. But I could like right now, this is going to, even if I grab this, actually I gotta reset. If I grab this and move this over, it's gonna wanna like fall more on this end. It's probably actually gonna stand upright. We'll see what it does. Yeah. So see, that's like trying to fall over that way because this end is heavier because the center of mass is on that side.
Right.
So even though it's facing that way, it like totally flips itself back over.
Which makes sense because that's how rigid bodies behave. So like it really doesn't matter, like super doesn't matter the density of any given part. It's just like where is the center of mass in relation to the volume.
So it's very, objects really only have one center of mass because it's,
that's how objects work.
Yeah. So you can have, I can edit this and move it to I can grab the whole thing and move it to the other side based on where my origin point is. And now it's going to do totally different. It's going to flip up on the other side, or at least it should try to. As long as I have it set up right.
It's
probably needs to be.
Yeah, totally.
Let's see.
Yeah, because there's a lot more volume at that other end.
There it goes. Yep.
You gotta, like tug it up.
So
that's a real weeble wobble.
Yep. It's trying to fall over, but it's gonna stay upright. So you can do a lot with that and really change the style of your rigid body. So let's keep I'm gonna keep the plane here, but I want to move on to the rigid bodies are pretty straightforward. So let's jump into I'm just gonna put it's not a plane right now. I'm gonna put another. Let's do a UV sphere and then a plane, and then let's try the cloth. I'm just gonna smooth this. So a cloth, we can do set the cloth, and then of course with this. So you see it falls through both things, even though the plane is a rigid body. I don't know why this is, but the collision is what you need for cloth, and the rigid body is what you need for rigid bodies. So in order for this to collide with both of these, we can apply a collision as well. You can have both on them, so it's not like you have to choose one or the other, but you can have both. So when I do this, now that piece of solid cloth is going to sit right on top of the cube, or the sphere. You can see it's not really, it's going to fall off if I give it enough time. But it's based on how many subdivisions you have. So if you have a piece of a plane here and you want it to be more, have more, deform more to the shape, you're going to have to add some subdivisions. So we can just go into edit mode, right click, and subdivide. Go down here if we want and multiply this. We don't want to go too crazy because it's going to be slower and slower. You can see, I have a cloth. I can shade this smooth, and it falls over the sphere. We can make this a little bit bigger, maybe subdivide again.
So you're subdividing that mesh a ton, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where do you get into that subdivision menu?
Right click, and then it's should be the top option. If we pause this, so this is the
Oh, I'm in object mode.
Oh yeah, gotta go into edit mode. And one thing with the cloth right away you can see is that it kind of it intersects with itself, and so you end up with these weird like pieces that are, colliding. So there's a lot more settings here in the cloth, but the main one I feel like is collision. It's kind of way down here.
Why is it passing through my sphere? What did I miss?
Oh, so you need to have the collision set on sphere.
Oh, right. Okay.
So instead of a rigid body, it's used,
Oh, slowing down. Oh, that's fun. It's like, oh, it's really doing a thing here. Whoa.
Oh yeah, did you do soft body instead of
Yes.
cloth? Yeah, so that's gonna.
It started just bouncing. That's cool. That's a cool look though. Like, whoa. Man, got some like cymatics going over here.
Oh, that is cool.
Let's extend this a little bit.
It looks like a water droplet, kind of. Sweet.
Man, it's cooking my GPU right now.
Oh yeah, they're pretty expensive. So you can see up here that's running my FPS down to 11. So all these things like that collision, the self collision is definitely going to hit.
Oh, that's really good. Man, this is
FPS
cool though.
well.
So okay, so I screwed this up though. Yeah. So I set soft body instead of cloth for sure. But it's very fun. So let's make you cloth instead. Oh, why did it disappear?
You may need to reset your timeline.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
One thing we can do here too is do the smooth, or even a corrective smooth. That makes it a lot nicer looking, but of course at the cost of frames. And it's going to clip slightly into the sphere as well. So normally you'd have like a separate collision for the object that's colliding, and then hide that one in the renders. So I could hide that, and then it will still collide with it even though it's invisible.
Oh.
So looks.
Oh, that was fun. Interesting.
Cool.
Check out what it's doing.
Let's see.
This is funny.
It like slides off. Oh, weird.
And it's like bunched up on this thing. But it kind of like got confused about where this is. So I wonder if I like disable that and then like rerun the thing. So, oh, weird. It's still bunching on there. Even though this thing doesn't. Weird. That's an interesting result. No point in troubleshooting that. So we turn this cloth stuff off and then back on maybe? Okay, yeah, and then if we turn this collision on again and rerun it. Oh no, just like it's confused about where this thing ends up. That's funny because this thing, it's also like bouncing on something that's bouncing.
That's interesting. Is the cube? Oh, the cube spawns right there, right? Is the cloth colliding with like where? It's definitely doing something about the cube. It like thinks that there's a.
It's like collecting in the bottom of where it like starts.
Yeah, where it starts at.
Or something.
You may try like just delete your cube and like see if it, when you do your calculation, if it doesn't, if it stops doing that. Oh.
It's hung up about that spot. So it seemed like if I like cleared the cloth thing and then re-added it, that it was doing something different. That it says like caching. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. That's the desired result.
Totally. Yeah, and then so like this like kind of like this is a result of this thing being having too little topology, right?
Yeah, you can also use, so the nice thing with these is they're just modifiers, so you can go in and like add a corrective smooth modifier or something, and that just will smooth it out and give you kind of a nicer result. I like to do that just so I don't have to add. I mean, you could just add a ton of subdivisions too. If you wanted this to be like as realistic as possible, you just want to add subdivisions. But this is a nice, like, cheaper way of not having. Do you have your self collision on too?
Oh, probably not.
So that's just hiding out here, like way down in the. This will really slow it down too. If you scroll way down in the
Collisions.
cloth there underneath collisions, yeah, there's the self collision.
Cool.
So cloths can be really neat. I actually kind of like them better than you can do something similar with them as you can with like soft body physics, and sometimes they actually get some better results. But you can also like you can pin cloth, like if you were doing I don't know if this was like a flag or something or like laundry.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So this sort of gets me to a thing that I've been curious about. I want to do more like text effect stuff. Like I don't know. I like logos are fun in 3D. And so another like a look that I think is really interesting is like the inflated look.
Oh yeah.
And I was sort of like trying to like get at that with like some of those like bubbly modifiers to sort of like inflate my glass a bit. But like I definitely watch people do it where it's I don't know which physics model they're using, but it's either inflating a soft body or inflating something made of cloth, you know, and like pinned.
So you might have seen the internal spring category here, and this has a pressure.
So that's where you do that if it were like a volumetric model.
I mean, we can try. We could do a cloth here. Let's use this sphere that we made. Turn this off. Add a cloth. Reset our thing, and then of course when we play this, it's gonna fall, and it actually is gonna hold its shape because the cloth has a certain amount of like structure to it. So if we go and we add that internal spring, it's actually going to be bouncy like soft body would be, but you have a lot more settings in here.
Something very strange is happening with mine.
Oh, does your plane, does that have collision on it?
It does. It does. It's just like melting into the volume, I think.
Had you is your scale applied?
Oh, I did a weird. I did not apply the scale. That's what it is. That's gotta be. That's probably what it is. Apply scale.
So that with the pressure, like you can.
Oh no, that wasn't it. It just like sinks in there. That's so interesting.
Huh. Can actually bring this volume up.
Weird.
And essentially, it's just
what's it collecting on?
Maybe try switching just to check, see if it shouldn't be, because you just added a cube and scaled it up, right?
Well, yeah, I just deleted it out too. This is actually a plane. That's a scaled plane.
Oh.
So maybe there's something about the plane.
Yeah, actually. Oh, I bet it's if you head into your little drop down up here and go to face orientation. Yeah, so see how it's red? It's actually it's inside out.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So if you go, like if you look...
Remesh it or whatever?
You just gotta, so mine is blue. If you go into edit mode and hit A and select the whole thing, then what you gotta do is the Alt-N and do recalculate outside, and that will fix your normals, and it should turn blue.
Alt-N?
Yeah.
Jeez. What's the...
There you go.
Sweet.
Yeah, now it's blue. Now it should work. You just have to like reset your timeline and...
Sweet. Oh.
So now it just looked like it fall. Oh, you may have to be back in object mode.
To recalculate it.
Yeah.
There we go.
There.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra like things to consider when messing with the physics, like
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it tests your troubleshooting knowledge for sure, like where things could go wrong. But the pressure thing is pretty fun because you can animate this value if you wanted to. So you could set it to 0, and it is just going to be like, it's gonna have some. So we might just do let's just do 1, and then over time increase it to 44. That's fine. Then play. Then over time, so you could like inflate or deflate letters or whatever you had.
Yeah. And get them to squish into each other.
Yeah.
Cool. So like, neat. That's exactly where I'm at. Like, I think I really like that look of just like, you know, when like text appears and it like has like, you know, just starts to get that like bunched up thing, you know.
It does break after a certain point, so you just have to like watch how far you take it. So like 80 is probably as far as it's gonna want to go. Let's see, 80. There is the pressure scaling too. You can change. So that can be a pretty cool effect. Definitely, that's why I kind of like using the cloth more than soft bodies, because you have quite a few more settings that you can mess around with. There's things like the quality. You can change, of course, the mass, and you can set a pinning group to keep the shape. So if you wanted this to just be floating or have like you would probably with the letters, or you could pin it to certain vertex groups and keep it just up without falling over. Also some quality controls within the collision, of course the self-collision, and all that stuff. So you can, cool thing with this too, let me actually see if I can go back to where we had our, I may just have to add another one. Yeah, let's just add, I'm just gonna get rid of that, add the collision back. I want to show you guys the, oops, it's up here, edit mode, scale, maybe not that big, subdivide. Can I type in here? Oh yeah, let's just subdivide it like, maybe more than that, 50 times. Okay. Okay, and add our cloth. So there's another really cool thing that you can do with cloth, and I think all the physics objects are actually are controlled by or can be affected by these. I'm going to subdivide it again. Maybe one more time. It's going to be kind of slow, but I'll just grab some of these edges and pin them. So I just go into the vertex, the data properties here in the vertex groups, add a new group and just hit assign. And then I can go back into the physics tab where cloth is, go to my shape, select the pin group, and then that should just stay. I may have added too many subdivisions. Yeah, probably. So the cool thing though is that you can actually cache this, so you can bake this all before, so you can hit bake, and it will bake this before you play it. That way you can get a faster playback, so it's not like baking while it's playing.
Right.
You know, so if you had something that was like super advanced and you wanted to have this run, you know, while you're waiting, you could go through and have this process first. Though I think I just kind of overdid it here, so let's hopefully not crash Blender. But this will play a little bit of it anyways. You can see like how dense it is now. Wow. Looks kind of cool.
Yeah, totally.
So you could get some really neat results.
Wow.
So, but let me.
It's like, I love that, like, that kind of detail is just like, it's so cool. It's just like so, it'd be so tedious to get any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like, to get it, if you have a very specific look that you want in mind, it's probably simpler just to sculpt it. It is to, like, get it to flop into the correct position or something. But.
There is a unsubdivide, which is
right on.
Useful. Although I don't know actually where to find it. So little pro tip, if you hit F3, there's a search, and then you can just search for whatever you're looking for if you don't know where something is, but you know it's a thing. So it's actually Control E. It's under Edge, I guess, and it does show you the shortcut too.
I love that.
So super helpful. But now I can go back and let's like try to bake that again. See, back in the cache, you can delete bake and bake. See, it's much faster now.
So much faster.
And tell it like the range you want it to bake in and everything. And you can bake all of the physics too this way. You can see there's the bake all dynamics button. So that could be super useful. Wow, we ran out of time pretty quick. Here we're getting close.
Physics, baby. Takes a long time.
Yeah. So I'll calculate this one, and then I'm going to add in. We didn't really talk about soft body, but I wanted to real quick show a force field, and then do soft body for a second. So here's this. Sorry, that looks pretty good. Probably should have calculated the self collision as well. Go back and just delete that. But with the there is objects in here that are called force fields. So Shift A to add force field, and there's a bunch of different stuff. This is where you add things like wind. You can add some like vortex kind of things. It's just, of course, wind and a vortex. There's some other things in here that I have never really used before. Not sure what they do.
Wait, is that thing really called a Boyd?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's a Boyd.
That's so funny.
Not sure what it does, but...
It's supposed to like, insert a bird, right?
Oh, maybe. Is that...
Read the description. It says something about a bird.
Oh, does it?
I think it's like...
Force field.
Oh, add empty object physics effector to... Oh, Boyd. Right, the little descriptor, right? Do you see this?
Yeah. It's just like... It just says that it adds... We can add it.
An empty object with a... So
they are just... so it's a physics. They're over here. Right, so it's like it is an object. You can apply these to other things. You may have seen them in the, like if I click this, there's the force field. But these just like, you can add wind automatically, and it kind of gives you like a visual of it. So here's the wind. You can see which way it's blowing wind, and you can turn the strength up, and it visually like has
that's cool.
an effect on it. So if we brought this way up, and then just like brought in some noise, and then we go in here and calculate this.
Slowing it down again.
Yeah, but this will force fields are essentially like the only one I ever really use is wind. I'm sure you could do some really cool things with some of the other ones, but if you want to just mess around with it and try it out, the wind's a good place to start. Especially if you're get on flags or something, or you're trying to. That's usually what most people are doing with the flags, anyways. It's very like trying to do close in Blender is like I've never really gotten it to work great. There are definitely other programs, of course, that are much better at it, but it is possible. But you can also use the wind and stuff with hair, which can create some cool effects. But now, hopefully this is strong enough, you'll probably see there's sort of like a waviness going on here on the top part. You see where it's blowing the fabric. So, of course, the more density you have, the more you'll actually see this. But you can sort of see where
it's definitely like rippling in there.
Yeah.
Like you can see like kind of like the pressure waves going there. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. You can get some cool effects with this. Of course, you probably want this to go on much longer. So of course, you could change your end time and how much it caches and everything. But the last one, let's just talk about it for a second here. Oops, I didn't want to delete my home cube there. Just delete this. We're going to use the sphere again. Is a soft body. And the one thing you probably noticed earlier was that like it kind of sits there. There's the goal setting. If you just uncheck that, it will then fall.
Goal, huh? Ooh. Oh, I like that look.
Makes it into a little puddle.
You probably gotta like smooth shade or whatever.
Yeah, there's quite a few settings in here, but of course there's the cache, but you can actually just check on the there's like edge and face collision itself. And that helps a little bit, but it's still kind of just a puddle. So turning on stiffness is probably the main thing, and that also did not work.
Interesting.
Where is the... Oh, self-collision. There we go.
Ooh. It's colliding already.
So it still kind of sits in a pool.
Interesting.
So there's... I think is it under this? I can't remember which one it was. No, shear's not the right thing. This is why I don't... The soft bodies aren't quite as like self-explanatory as the cloth is.
Mm-hmm. It's a more complex thing, I would guess, right? It's like kind of like it's not quite a rigid mesh, and it's not quite like a cloth. It's like somewhere in between.
Yeah, and it's weird that it has this like goal where it's automatically trying to like pin itself to a certain spot. Where was the...
I guess it kind of makes sense given the things that people tend to do with it, you know?
Yeah. We might turn the...
It's like an avatar thing?
There we go.
Nice.
Like bending is probably the setting that we were looking for.
The sphere bender.
Definitely gonna lag a bit.
Sploink. Yeah, it's really got it's a complex mesh, so it's got a lot of collisions to calculate there. Huh?
Yeah. You can also change things like the... But a lot of times, it's just going in and messing with... Whoa, okay. Going in and messing with it.
Yep.
But,
right. These physics simulations are kind of like physics experiments.
Yeah.
Until you sort of like dial in or find the person who can tell you what they've dialed in to like get it to do a certain kind of look or thing.
I would definitely recommend like using the cloth over the soft body if you're like trying to mess with stuff. I feel like you have more control. Like I've pretty much gone through all these already and like...
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, that was interesting.
Definitely feels like it's getting further away from the bouncy ball dropping, but yeah. I don't dislike it.
It was almost like closer. See how fast it was to set it up with the cloth versus with this.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, there's more control, but it's not necessarily control that is actually that helpful.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Even turning the goal on there didn't actually... Oh, it's because I got the minimum set. It's going to stand up.
It kind of got like a... It'd be cool if you could just stand up and it was like Among Us.
Had legs.
Yeah, it kind of started like looking like that a little bit.
Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, like, the physics are here. You can definitely use them. Like I said, it's not... It's one of those things that there's definitely better tools out there for it, even if they're more expensive.
That's probably why they're more expensive, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because
there's probably crazy math behind this, like lots of math.
Yeah,
fancy math.
But if you get into Unreal, that's free to use. So if you got a powerful enough computer, you can come up with some cool stuff. I think they're probably going to update this soon because it's been the same for a long time, like the physics stuff. I get a feeling that it's definitely on the agenda to update their real-time physics. So I have to keep an eye out for it. And probably going to have a lot of increased quality of life things. I can't remember the last. I think the whole time I've been using Blender, it's been the same. So these are definitely like 10-year-old physics engines behind the scenes. So it's definitely improved quite a bit in other programs. So, but you can do some neat stuff, especially I feel like with the cloth simulations and the rigid body. I've never had great results with the soft bodies. So somebody out there probably knows a lot more than I do about it, but I just have always felt like they're very limiting. So there's also fluid and hair and all that good stuff. So there's some other cool. Dynamic paint is interesting too. That's like making like things like snow. Like you can kind of like if you're doing footsteps in sand or in snow or something like that, you can add some effects that way, which can be neat too. So
cool. Like
rolling a ball through snow and something like that. You know. But yeah, it looks like we've used up our hour pretty quick. So we will be. Well, actually, we won't be here next week. We've got a theater show to attend. Well, work at.
To work.
To work.
To crew. So we'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks.
You'll probably see us still our reruns. We'll still be here, same time, just our past selves.
Yep.
So keep an eye out, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye-bye.